everyone, it's Bailey from Making It from the Midwest, and this is going to be a video that kind of kills a lot of birds with one tutorial. I had a few requests lately, one of which was to do a foundation routine, or like an everyday face routine using the Bdellium brushes that I got from IMAT, so that's in part what this is. I had two other requests, one to do an everyday kind of light eye from the Balm's Nude Tude palette, of which I have reviewed and swatched and just used all over the place, but I think she wanted a lighter, so I'm working from this end of the palette. And then I had another request for the look I did in my Better Than False Lashes review. So this eye look is kind of a mesh between those two. It takes both elements. So that's what this whole thing is. If you'd like to see how I do it, let's just get to it. Continue watching. Let's go. Okay, so this is the face no makeup. This is probably the worst it's ever been just because of the stresses of finals and like hormonal breakouts here and stress breakouts here. So it's kind of good because you get to see just how good and full coverage my foundation routine is. So with that, let's just get going. The first thing I do is use Garnier Skin Renew Anti-Dark Circle Roller, which I think is also anti-puff. As you can see, lack of sleep has really brought out my dark circles, and so this is kind of a lifesaver during finals week. And I just pat that in. That is done, and now it's time for the foundation. Oh, I should have told you that I have a pre-moisturized face. I use Murad's Oil Control Mattifier with SPF 15, good for the SPF, and I don't necessarily have oily skin, but when I went to get this current foundation regimen, the woman at Sephora said that this would help with breakouts, so it's what I am using. For foundation, I am using Makeup Forever's HD foundation, and it is in shade... don't know what shade it's in. Sorry about that. But then I'm using Bdellium Tools 949 brush. This is the not angled, but like tapered foundation brush. There, I showed it in my IMAT's video, which is what this video is about, is the Bdellium brushes. So, I'm going to be using that to apply. The way I like to do this is put a pump and a half on the back of my hand like that, and then use this brush to apply. But the thing about this brush is that you really need to work on one area of the skin, because the bristles are more dense. It'll put down a lot more product that you just need to work and buff in. Otherwise you'll do like your whole face and then think, that's not a whole lot of coverage, and you'll do it again, and then you'll end up with cake face. That's catastrophic, people. So just one patch of skin, work it in. Work it, work it, work it. And down the neck. Don't forget the neck. Alright, then once I have the foundation applied, I take my concealer. This is Youngblood's Ultimate Concealer in, there we go, Youngblood in Fair. It's just one of these where you use your fingers. And I use my finger to put that under the eyes and around the nose, really anywhere that you feel kind of needs a little bit of covering up. So I lay it down like that, and then I go in with my Bdellium brush, this one, the 787. It's the Fluffy Duo Fiber, and I use that to blend out my concealer, and this is great because the diffuse fibers really blend your concealer. The next and last step after concealer is setting powder, and I use Makeup Forever's HD powder and just the teensiest bit of this. So what I do is I take just a little bit of this. This is that same too much. This is that Bdellium 787, and I'm just going to swirl, because I have so much on this brush right now, I just swirl it in the cap like this, and then I dust that under my eyes. Really no rubbing involved, just a light dusting of it. Otherwise, if you like run it back and forth, it'll go everywhere. It's nuts. So then once the eyes are done, I go in with this Bdellium 958 brush here, and I do the same thing. I dip just the teensiest bit in the cap, don't disturb it. And then I swirl it around in the cap, and then I brush it along on my chin, on my cheeks, and on my forehead. And I really only do it there just because sometimes using any kind of setting powder can make my foundation look a little cakey, and so I just put on the places that I'm going to need the most longevity, or need to get the most longevity out of my foundation. So that's the only reason why I'm doing those select places. So now that the face is done, let's zoom in and do the eyes. So now onto the eyes, I will use a base of some sort. Typically it is skin colored. For that, I'm just going to be using this NYX eyeshadow base, and it's the skin tone eyeshadow base, but sometimes I use Painterly. It just depends on what's in front of me, what I'm feeling that day, but this is what I'm using today. And so I'm just placing that hair on the eyeball, everywhere. You know the drill. You prime everywhere you're going to put shadow, you stick some primer on it. So in terms of color, the first step for this everyday look is this NARS cream shadow in Cosmic Girl. I think it's, oh, there's a magnet on the back of that. No name for you. I think it's Cosmic Girl. I'll put it in the bottom bar just to be sure. And I apply that using a synthetic brush. You can use your fingers or even a fluffier brush, but I find that I get maximum glow and maximum just like payoff when I use a flat synthetic brush. And I put that in the inner corner, and I even sweep it up into like this little, what do you want to call it? Like it's kind of a socket thing. I don't know, this inner corner thing. And under the eye as well. I meant to mention that the rest of this tutorial is going to be out of the Balm's Nude Tude palette as requested, but if you don't have this Cosmic Girl color, you can use Snobby as kind of a dupe because it is a little bit yellower, but it still has that same kind of highlighty sheen. So this is another just as good kind of, especially if you're going to be working from this anyway, it's just as good as that. That's why I kind of I found it acceptable to use that in this tutorials because you can dupe it. Alright, then all over the lid I'm going to use Stubborn, this pretty kind of baby shimmery pink color, and this is a Samantha Chapman base shadow brush that I'm using. So and really kind of from where I laid the yellow down, from there on all over the moving part of the lid. And then even directly beneath that on your lower lash line, put it there too. And while we're working with lighter colors, let's go ahead and highlight our brow bone with Standoffish, this one here. Now for the crease, I'm going to use my all-time favorite crease color, and that is Sultry. It's such an easy to work with matte medium brown color, and this is my unnamed My Glam fluffy brush. Also my ultimate favorite crease blender brush. So starting from the outer corner and working that in, I'm actually pretty sure I've already done this in my other tutorial using this palette, so I won't talk you through it. Then to define the outer corner, I'm not going to, by define I just mean add a little bit more depth. This is obviously a very light, summery look, so I'm not getting too dark with things. I'm going to schizo right beside the color I just put in my crease, and this is an e.l.f. eye crease brush. So doing that, and then just working that in circles in the outer corner. Then for just the tiniest bit of definition, I'm going in with Sexy, this gorgeous plum color, because this is the color that whenever I pick up this palette, my first thought is, how can I use that color? So I'm going to use this as an eyeliner, although you could use, if you're working from this palette, either of these two, this matte brown, matte black, but I'm going to use this plum and an angled crown brush and just run that along the outer, not even the whole, just the outer section of the lashes, really just to kind of deepen them up. Deepen them up, thicken them, something like that. Deepen them up was not the right word. Ridiculous. Alright, then I'm looking especially tired as I kind of am today. My waterline's a little bit red, and that kind of is a dead giveaway that you didn't get enough sleep last night. I'm going to use a skin-toned kind of eyeliner to cover that up. This is Urban Decay's Glide On Shadow Pencil in Sin. You can find this, actually these are super cheap online at the moment. I believe you can get that whole set for $9 or something on the website, or you can find it in a Nordstrom rack, also discounted, so good deal alert. And I'm just going to line that on my lower lash line. Now I'm just going to put some mascara on, any kind of mascara will do, and I'm going to zoom out and do the rest of the face. Okay, now for the face, I have the same basic routine, but the products I use kind of vary from day to day because I like to change things up. For today, though, I'm going to be using the Too Faced Natural Face Kit. I've reviewed this and I can link to that in the bottom bar, but it's pretty basic, and I can't remember, I might have even done this in another tutorial, but I'm doing it for the sake of showing you my everyday face anyway. So I take a big, fluffy crown brush, I run that in the bronzer, and I run the bronzer towards the back of my cheekbones, maybe even a little bit underneath, and then up into the temples, as well as below the jawline. Don't forget the jawline, otherwise then you'll have this like uneven balance. You'll have like a dark kind of top peanut head. I don't know, just don't forget the cheekbone, don't. Then chances are if I'm using this kit, I am also using the cream shadow in it, or the cream blush in it, or this blush, but I just love the way the cream blush goes on, so I'm going to put this stippling brush from Sigma. It is the F15. And my favorite brush to use with this cream blush, and just start working that in circular motions on where would we call this? The middle of the cheek, underneath the cheekbone, not on top, but just beneath, kind of in the hollows, I guess. Now for the highlight, and as many of you know, this is my favorite highlight by Laura Geller. It's the Blush and Brighten in Como highlighter in Portofino. And I use my Sigma Tapered F25 brush in there and on the tops of the cheekbones, up into the temples. And this is another one of those great brushes that's tapered, so you can really fit it in your temples without kind of messing other things up. Something else I forgot, and I typically do this actually when my face is done, which might seem kind of weird to people, but I set my brows after that because using that big fluffy brush can kind of disturb them. So I like to get everything done on the face and then set my brows with just some brow gel. Because I don't have a brow routine because I have Groucho Marx eyebrows. Okay, last of the lips, and 9 times out of 10 I really don't do anything special. I always put something on, but I don't have like a lip liner stick regimen. Typically I just put a gloss on or a lip butter or the L'Oreal Color Riche thing, something that's pigmented but nothing I need to commit to too much. So today I'm just going to be using this Cargo Gloss in Big Sur. It's what I got in my little black bag opening, and I'm just going to put that on. Alright, now that is it for my everyday makeup slash foundation routine slash the everyday colorful look with the Nude Tude palette. We killed all our birds. So yeah, that's it. Leave any requests you may have in the bottom or in the comment section below, and I will try and get to them. I can't promise in a timely manner, but eventually I'll get to them. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.